back. This is week 3 of our stress management program, and you're halfway through this program. So I'm hoping that you're getting a little more used to my voice and a little bit more used to this program, and have already found some tools to help you. And this particular segment is going to be focusing much more on ways to help. So let's just look at the outline for this week. We'll be talking more about the mind-body relationship and mind-body interventions. And we'll be touching on another stress response, the freeze reaction. Look at balance and pacing, and I'll talk a little bit about depression and stress, and then reaction versus response, and we'll be looking at mindfulness and meditation and how mindful meditation can be helpful. Your assignments, which we'll be reviewing at the end, will be to continue with your stress log, the second part. I will lead you in a mindful meditation. I will also lead you in a relaxation and breathing exercise. And you'll be asked to continue with the same stress-busting activity that you tried in week 2 last week, or try another one. And I'll invite you to try another helping and healthy coping mechanism. So let's go on. We've talked quite a bit about the mind-body relationship, about how our thoughts and what happens in our mind, our thoughts and our feelings affect our body. So I'll just review a little bit. Things that you probably already know, so you can just relax and listen to this. What we think affects how we feel emotionally. And we learn this piece in Words That Hurt, Words That Heal. Certain ways of thinking we can have quite a reaction to. They can make us feel bad. Other ways of thinking can make us or help us feel much better. And how we feel emotionally affects how we feel physically. We know that when we're happy, we tend to feel better. When we're sad or stressed, we feel worse. We know that reacting to a stressor can cause the body to begin to go into the fight-flight mode. That place where every organ in your body gets ready to protect you from that big invading tiger that's in your mind. We know that this causes physiological changes in the body that can lead to inflammation and discomfort. And we also know that habitually going into that fight-flight mode makes it very difficult for the body to operate well. It's exhausting. And to help our body, we need to decrease our exposure to stressful situations, but most importantly, to change our response, our reaction to the stressors. So let's look at some more mind-body interventions. What's a mind-body intervention? Well, first, they're well-researched, safe, and effective complement to both medical and psychological interventions. We already know that our mind and our body is connected. We already used that example of watching that scary movie and what is taken in, the information taken in through our eyes, affecting how we're feeling physically. And we know that we can learn to utilize the mind to help the body. We can also learn to work with the body to help the mind. When our body is more relaxed, when we're in a place where we're physically more comfortable. We tend to be more optimistic than when we are in a situation or a place where we are less physically comfortable. We can use our thoughts to help relax or rejuvenate our body. Either one. And relaxing or rejuvenating and recharging our body can help us calm down or change our thoughts. So if we do things that are relaxing to our bodies, that will help us calm down. Like taking a break. And if we do something that's rejuvenating to our body, like movement, that can help influence our thoughts. Some mind-body interventions include imagery, which we'll be exploring at another time in the next week. Something called psychoneuroimmunology, PNI, which is a science exploring the relationship between psychological, what we're thinking, the neurological system, and the immunological system in our body. It's a pretty vast field, and I won't be covering it here, but I wanted to mention it. And I give you some references and resources for it at the end of the program so you can get more information for yourself. We've talked a little bit about cognitive behavioral psychotherapy, the ability to use your thoughts to change behaviors. Mindfulness meditation we'll be talking about today. Hypnosis and self-hypnosis. These are relaxation techniques, things that you can use on your own to help you be able to relax. And I give you some references for this and resources for this at the end of this program. Deep breathing and relaxation techniques. We've done a little bit of this, just the breathing in and out, but we'll do more of this in this section. An exercise such as yoga or qigong there's been a lot of research with MS and yoga, but yoga and qigong are really helpful in relaxing the mind, helping the body, and helping our immune system. So once again, you will be provided with resources for all of these at the end of the program, but you're welcome to get more information about this now, and many of these things the National MS Society has information on, especially about movement. So I would encourage you to look into this now on your own, and I will give you some more resources. So let's talk for a moment about another stress response. We've talked about the reaction, the stress response of fight, flight. As you remember, fight, flight is about the body preparing to fight or get away, and the blood pressure can change, the heart rate can change, the body can tighten up, and that reaction can be very tiring as well as painful to the body. Well, there's another stress reaction. It's a freeze reaction. It's a physiological reaction to stress, and there also is a psychological component to it. This reaction occurs when the brain determines that fight or flight will not work. When you don't believe that you can fight something off or get away from it, you might begin to shut down or collapse. And having MS, knowing that you have MS, is a situation that you can't fight off or get away from. So you might begin to go into freeze. This collapse, this collapse feeling of shutting down is known as the freeze reaction. Symptoms of the freeze reaction are just an overwhelming need for sleep. It's just overwhelming fatigue, just a complete shutdown. It feels like the lights are being dimmed or turned off. Blues, sadness, depression are all part of this complete shutdown feeling. Emptiness. You're not daydreaming or thinking of fun, positive thoughts. Memory problems. There can be a real hypersensitivity to pain or a numbing. It's often a decreased interest in food. Everything seems a little flat. All of these symptoms can also be present in MS. So if you're experiencing these, it's important to consult your treating physician. And if you have these symptoms and it's not MS related, if your doctor is saying nope and you're determining no, ask for a referral to a mental health specialist for an evaluation. Because this freeze reaction really is a deadening, has a deadening effect. So rather than the hyper arousal and the hyper awareness, it's a real shutting down. So you're not participating very much in life. And this, when your body begins to shut down and goes into this freeze response, another part of your body is trying to deal with this response, and it can be quite exhausting. So, guess what? Learning better coping skills will help you prevent the fight, the flight, and the freeze reaction. So, as you understand now, there's a really fine balance that we have to find between understimulation and overstimulation. As a matter of fact, living life with MS is very much about balance. At the beginning of each week and at the end of each week, you see a picture of rocks carefully placed one on top of the other. This is a picture of a piece done by someone who calls himself the balance artist. These rocks are not glued there, they're just placed there very carefully. And guess what? They do get knocked down. And then he may return and carefully place them again. Living with MS is very much like this. Put things into balance, you fine-tune, you figure it out, it works for a while, and then it may not work so well. Life in general is about balance and pacing, about figuring out what's not enough and what's too much. You know, sometimes we can try to avoid stress to the point where you're actually bored. Life becomes not very meaningful. As a matter of fact, I've heard that it's important for people living with MS to completely avoid stress. Well, I don't exactly know how it's possible to live a full life or even a half full life and completely avoid stress. Being understimulated, avoiding things, or being bored is also stressful and can increase inflammation, can increase discomfort. Not being involved in something important to you can lead to sadness, a real feeling of low self-worth, a real questioning of what is it that I'm doing day to day. and this can increase your experience of pain. Now, of course, when you're really struggling with a difficult medical symptom and it's new to you or overpowering at the time, it's difficult to be actively involved in anything other than dealing with this medical symptom. So I'm talking about in general. In general, it's important to have an idea of when I am feeling better, this is what I'd like to be doing. This is what is interesting to me. Because you may not be able to do all of it now, but you may be able to learn a little bit about it or think a little bit about it. It's important to connect with others and to continue to challenge yourself and grow. So we talked about before quite a bit last time about not overdoing it, and that's still true. But the other side of it is you want to continue to learn and grow. MS and discomfort does not need to stop that. You may need to begin to learn about, as you are now, how to be more comfortable. And right now, being involved in this program is you connecting with others and challenging yourself to grow. So you're already doing that. So guess what? Too much stress is not helpful, and avoiding stress is not helpful. And nobody can tell you what's too much and what is completely avoiding life. The balance and pacing is yours. That's why the stress log is so helpful to you. What's very important is to increase your tolerance to stress, to find a healthy balance that works for you. That is what will ultimately be the best thing to do. And you may need to adjust day by day, week by week, depending on what's going on in your environment and with your body.